Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Ursula, for the introduction. I am really happy to be here today and to hold this webinar for you. So I am now going to share my screen in order to show you presentation. So does it work now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So as Ursula was telling us before, today we're going to speak about introduction to research management. So the idea will be to give you an idea on how research project management works in the institution in which I work, which is University of Milan, then giving you some little ideas on golden rules on research project management. And of course, I hope that at the end of the presentation, we will have the chance to discuss a little bit the issue together in order to exchange best practices and to know also maybe something about how research management works in your institutions. So just to begin, I will show you a little topics agenda. We will start with a little presentation on the institution University of Milan. Then I am going to explain to you how research project management works at University of Milan, telling you about the institutions that are involved in this process and the roles they have in it. We will then focus a little bit more on the research services division, which is the division in which I work, and especially in the post-award offices and activities. Then we will have a little break after this part, and after the break, we will speak about some golden rules in research project management. And at the end, we will have a little bit of discussion. Of course, as Ursula said, if you have any question or you want to comment something, please tell us by raising your hand or writing in the chat, and I will be really glad about answering to your questions. So let's begin now with a little presentation of University of Milan. Our university is a public Italian university which was founded in 1924. So basically next year we will be celebrating 100 years of our university, and of course a lot of events will be organized in order to celebrate this important anniversary for our university. UNIMI basically is a very big university. In fact, it has 31 departments which are distributed across all ERC sectors, which are social sciences and humanities, physical sciences and engineering, and life sciences. So as you can imagine, we have plenty of research projects in very different areas, but the presence of so many departments that affect to different ERC sectors also have to have a lot of collaboration between departments in order to put together different skills and knowledges and to collaborate between departments. So to give you an overview of how the university is organized, I think that we can have a division between the central administrative organization and, of course, as I said to you, the departments. So speaking about the central administration, here you can see a picture of how our university is organized. So administratively speaking, the head is the office of the managing director, to which some centers and divisions affair. So, of course, centers and divisions deal with different topics and manners about administration, and therefore they are very specialized in some specific issues. So, for example, as you can see, we have divisions that deal with salary, benefits, and independent contractors. So they are in charge of employee contracts or staff and payment of payslips. But the one that interests us today, of course, is, the Research Services Division. So as you can see, for what concerns research, we have a very specialized research division, and later on we will see which roles it has that helps the university to, with some very specialized activities and knowledges to implement all aspects of research. So speaking once more about the central administration, the general director is responsible for the overall economic and financial management, administrative and technical processes and services, capital equipment and resources, and technical and administrative staff of the university. And of course, this person pursues all these objectives with the help of the centers and divisions. The general director is appointed by the board of directors on the proposal of the rector after consulting with the academic senate. So this person has to be a wholly qualified professional with a strong managerial track record. As I was saying before, if what we saw by now is the central administration, we also have the departments. So they are 31, as I told you at the beginning, and departments are the university's divisions in charge of organizing scientific research and teaching and relating educational activities. In this field, the department translates the university's strategic objectives into specific actions. They implement research, quality assurance processes, and launch scientific initiatives for the integration of knowledge and skills, also on a cross-departmental level, as we were saying before. Of course, after all this short presentation, the legal representative of the University of Milan is the rector, which for now is Professor Elio Franzini. So, as you can imagine, the management of research projects at the University of Milan functions thanks to a strict collaboration between both the Central Research Division and departments. And in fact, now we are going to focus a little bit more on how the organization of research works at our university. So we will see a little bit more in detail which functions and activities the departments and the Central Research Division have, but I will also try to provide you later on with some practical examples on how research projects are managed in our institution. So again, the departments and the Central Research Division have different tasks and responsibilities in the management of research projects. But of course, they are really complementary because all this process functions thanks to the activities of both divisions. So just to give you a general idea, what we will see is that the departments are responsible of the scientific, administrative, and financial management of the project. Instead, the Research Services Division has several functions that embrace many aspects of research. The Research Services Division mainly has a supportive and consultancy role, and it is a really complex structure made up of different offices and sectors that aim to give support in any aspect, every aspect of research. So these offices are really different one from another, and they try to respond with different knowledges and capabilities to all phases and necessities of research projects. So now we are going to see in comparison, which are in research project management the roles of the departments and the roles of the research services division. So basically, the departments are responsible of the accounting and scientific research. In fact, I can provide here a list that is, of course, not exhaustive of the roles that the departments have in research project management. So, of course, researchers, professors work in the departments depending on the area of study, and therefore the departments are responsible through the figure of the principal investigator of the project of the scientific implementation of the project. Speaking instead about the administrative part, the departments have to assure respect of financial and administrative guidelines depending on the type of project that we are dealing with. So, as you of course know, every financial agency has some financial and administrative regulations or guidelines that must be respected. And therefore, the department has to assure that all these aspects are taken into account while managing a research project. Of course, the departments also bear the costs associated to the scientific research. They have to prepare and submit statements. They have to monitor project progress and collect and retain documentation to support expenditures. So as you can see, the roles of the departments are really various and complex. So of course, the departments can guarantee that all these tasks are performed well, because in every department, we can find some administrative staff that is dedicated to the management of research projects. Of course, there is not a rule on how many people deal with research projects in every department, because it depends on how big the department is and how many research projects it has to manage. But of course, in almost every department, we can find some specialized staff that can monitor in detail the research projects and therefore assist and help the principal investigators with all the administrative and financial issues. Sometimes it can happen also that in departments, in association with some specific projects, we can also find some specialized project managers that can therefore more in a most efficient way help the principal investigators also in the scientific and administrative management of the project. Moreover, in order to even more improving all these process, very recently our governance decided to create a new figure that can be present in every department, which is called the research referee. So what happens is that every department can appoint one of the people that deal with research project as research referee. The role of this person should be the one of course, assist always also his or her colleagues with all the tasks the department deals with, but also to communicate smoothly and to collect all doubts or needs in order to smoothly communicate with the research services division. Because as we are going to see now, the research services division instead has a function of support and control of the research project management. So it is really important that communication functions between the departments and the research services division. So just to give you once more an idea, the activities of the research services division are to promoting and simplifying access to public and private research funding, streamlining management procedures and processes, and advice support. So what concretely happens is that the research services division, thanks to the offices it is made up, offer support in every phase of research projects to the departments and to the researchers and professors. And of course, in order to help the departments in every phase of research, we have different offices that in different moments of research project management can support the departments. So focusing now a little bit more on the research services division, I can give you now here an idea of which are the missions entrusted to the research services division. So it has to stimulate and support the participation of departments in research funding programs, activate a progressive growth of skills in the administrative management of research funding, manage research agreements, manage the university's research funding, activate, coordinate, and manage technology platforms, strengthen the network of contacts functional to research activities, and coordinate and monitor information flows. So, as you can see, the missions are very different from another, and they refer to from the moment of drafting proposals to calls of different funding agencies, but also to the phases of managing, negotiating and signing agreements, research agreements, and so on. Just to give you also another information, when we speak about the technology platform, Zoomedicum, we refer to some core facilities that we have at the University of Milan, which are part of the research services division. So through the years, the university decided to create these technology platforms, which are core facilities that provide some very performing and big machines and piece of equipment at the service of researchers and professors, both of the university, but also to external users, with the, of course, payment of an access fee that depends on the service that these core facilities provide. So, of course, the Research Services Division has a specialized office that deals with the administration and coordination of these platforms that, of course, are very useful for our researchers to also perform some kind of scientific activities. But as you will clearly imagine, in order to perform all these activities that are very different, the Research Services Division has a lot of offices that can be basically divided in two main areas that I am showing to you now. So, as you can see, I hope in the picture here above, which I think is quite useful, also the Research Services Division can be divided in two main areas of research projects, which are pre-award and post-award. So basically, the life cycle of a research project or a project in general can be divided in these two phases. And as the picture here above explains very well, when we speak about pre-award phase, we refer to these phases. So what can we find in pre-award? We find funding, drafting proposals, route and submit proposals. Then, of course, after the end of the evaluation process that every funding agency has, if the project is then financed, we start the phase called post-award, which comprises set up the project, manage the project, and close out the project. So basically, speaking about the research services division, the functions that the pre-award sector, thanks to the office it contains before, are increasing the effectiveness of the university's competitive funding actions for research, supporting the departments in participating in national, European, and international calls for proposals, promoting and disseminating relevant information, and contributing to the design and drafting of proposals. So basically, the offices that respond to the pre-award sector have different tasks. So we have a web page of our University of Milan in which we will see it later more in detail, but we have a dedicated section to research projects. In that section, our colleagues of the pre-award sector insert always information about the call for proposals that are launched by different funding agencies. Therefore, that is really important because it helps the departments and principal investigators to be informed about possibilities of funding, and therefore it is also a way to increase the possibility for the university to attract research projects. Therefore, our colleagues, apart from advertising and publishing research fundings, also give some specialized support to the researchers, professors, and to the departments in the drafting of proposals. So, speaking now about the post-award sector, for example, in post-award, the functions that are performed are the one of consultancy and technical support to the university structures for what concerns research project management, guidance and coordination for all aspects related to the project management and reporting, organization, coordination, and control of the administrative and accounting management of the budget assigned to the directorate, and finally, the legal support for the negotiation and conclusion of research, consultancy, and training contracts. Of course, in order to respond to all these necessities and activities, under the post-award sector, there are different offices that deal with all these aspects for research. So just to give you an example, we have a couple of offices that deal with the guidance and coordination of the aspects of research project management, and give also consultancy in this field to the departments. We have a legal office that instead has the function of negotiating and sign all legal documents associated to research projects, and some other offices that deal, as I was saying to you before, with the coordination of the core facilities that we have at the university, but also that give support to the central divisions for what concerns the budget of research. So now that I have given to you an overview about how the Research Services Division is organized and a brief list of functions that the department have in order to manage research projects, I would like to give you some practical example on how we manage research projects. So I will use as an example the management of a European project under the Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe program that, of course, I think that you know. So what happens in a typical case is that whenever a corporate proposal is launched on the participant portal of the European Commission, colleagues of the pre-award sector so prepare a specific dedicated web page giving some relevant information about the call. That could be topics or the important dates to keep in mind, such as the deadline for submission and so on. And of course, they also send specific emails in order to contact the departments and the researchers and professors that could be interested to the topic. So if a professor or researchers find the corporate proposal interesting for himself or herself and decides to participate in a consortium, for example, can then contact our colleagues in order to receive support both in the administrative part of the construction of the budget or the maybe functioning of the portal, but especially in the drafting of proposal. So phase of pre-award, of course, concludes when the proposal is submitted through the participant portal. After the evaluation process, of course, we receive a notification that an evaluation report is available for the proposal that was submitted. If the evaluation is positive and the project is therefore also selected for funding, it begins the phase that we call in Horizon project grant agreement preparation. So in this phase, project passes through the post-award activities. And all the offices that I was mentioning before start to give support to the departments. So during the phase of grant agreement preparation, for example, the legal offices can give support to the departments in signing the relevant documents requested by the European Commission that are, for instance, the signature of the Declaration of Honor, and then also for the accession form to the grant agreement in the case that the institution is beneficiary, or the signature of the grant agreement if the institution is coordinating the consortium. At the same time, the legal office also gives support in negotiating and signing the consortium agreement between parties involved in the consortium, as requested by the European Commission. If during the grant agreement preparation, instead, the departments or the principal investigator and researchers have the necessity to receive support for what concerns budget issues or financial issues, my office, which is the Accounting and Consultancy Office for Research Project Management, can, of course, give support already in this phase of budget preparation. So, as you can see here in the right, this is the screenshot of how the participant portal looks like in the phase of grant agreement preparation. So once the grant agreement is signed and the date of start the project arrives, the project begins, and we begin the project management phase of the project. For this reason, we are going now to focus on the post-award part of the research projects, and I will tell you how these phases of the project work at our university. So, by speaking about managing research projects in the post-award phase, apart from the departments, in the Central Research Division, we can find two main offices that deal with research project management, which are the Accounting Consultancy and Management Office for Research Projects, which is the office in which I work, and also the UniGest office, Project Management for Research. So basically, both offices deal with the same phases, which are the ones of project management, but with some differences. So in the first case, the Accounting Consultancy and Management Office for Research Projects handles the administration and control of procedures related to the post-award cycle of institutional research funding in the case in which the projects are completely managed by the departments. So this is the typical case that happens at our institution. The projects, as we have seen before, are managed in the departments, both for the scientific research part and also for the administrative, financial, and management phase. And therefore, the Accounting Consultancy and Management Office helps with coordination, control, and consultancy, the departments, whenever they have necessity to receive maybe responses to their doubts, or whenever they encounter a problem in the implementation of the project. Instead, on the other hand, UniGest office offers a more specialized project management service to support researchers and their departments in the management of complex research projects. So in this case, UniGest office not only gives consultancy to the departments, but also manages with a strict collaboration with the principal investigator, the research project. So basically they function as a project manager. Usually, UniGest office deals only with very complex research-funded projects. So, for instance, it could happen that this office helps managing ERC projects or some big European projects, maybe coordinating by UNIME or not. And for example, in this period, the UNIGEST office is really involved in the management of projects that have been funded by the Italian Ministry of University, thanks to the funds of the Next Generation EU Recovery Fund following COVID virus. So the Italian ministry decided to dedicate part of this fund to research projects. And some of them are really complex, and UNIME received some funding under these funds, and UNIGEST office is therefore helping the departments managing these complex projects. However, it is not, let's say, typical that UNIGEST office deals with research projects. In fact, by now, it is a possibility that exists for this kind of project, but the decision to join the office to ask for specialized project management is in the hand of the principal investigator of the project and the department itself. The typical case of research project management that we find today at the University of Milan is the first case, so the case which the projects are completely managed by the departments with the help and consultancy of the Accounting Consultancy and Management Office. So we are now going to examine more in detail how this process works. So speaking about the office I work in, the roles and the tasks that we perform are analyze calls for tenders with particular reference to financial aspects. As you, of course, know, every funding agency has different financial and administrative regulations. So at the University of Milan, in which we deal with research projects funded under several funding agencies, both European and national or international, it is really important for us to give an efficient support to the departments to know in detail the financial aspects every funding agency has, and therefore the study and analysis of call for tenders is very important. We also deal with the preparation of documents relating to the acceptance of funding and the signature by the legal representative. So at the University of Milan, every document that deals with research, that can be the signature of contracts or the signature of acceptance, letters of acceptance, and financial statements too, have to be signed by the legal representative, which is director. And the only structures that can ask director to sign documents are the central divisions. Therefore, for all documents related to research, the departments have to, case by case, ask to, for financial issues, for example, and acceptance of funding, to our office to sign, to have these documents signed by director. And this is also very useful for us because it is a way of controlling documents and therefore always helping the departments to manage the research projects. We also have some function of advising and training departments on the management and reporting of research funding. We also control formally the reports produced by the research structures and therefore have them signed by director as telling you before. We have a role of intermediation activity in relations with the funding body and with third parties in charge of carrying out external audits on institutional research projects. So we not only give support during the implementation of the project, but also at the end of the project. If some projects are selected for example, second level audits of the European Commission or external audits at the end of any other project, we can give support to the departments in order to help them in collecting documents or maintain relations with the auditors. Finally, we also cooperate very much with the other university offices for the optimization of management of institutional research funding. So, example, even if we deal mainly with financial and administrative aspects of research projects, it can be helpful and useful to help the departments to maybe get in contact with offices that deal, for example, with the enrollment of PhD students or other figures that are involved in the realization of research projects, and or also with the financial division of the university that deals with the budget. And therefore, we have this most important role of cooperation with other offices at the university. So now, always speaking about post-award research projects management, I will now concentrate on more practically on some aspects that I have spoken about, and give you also, once again, some practical example on how research projects are monitored and managed in the post-award phase. So, speaking about, for example, the activities on information and consultancy, our office tries to respond to these necessities thanks to, for example, sharing relevant information via web through the university official website, and also organizing periodic training sessions for the departments. So, for what concerns the first case, we have, as I already mentioned you, an official web page of the University of Milan, which you can see here at the right. I know it's written in Italy, but I will translate what it's important. What I wanted to show you is that we have this section, Talent Work, that is open for consultation to all the personnel, and one section is particularly devoted to research projects. In this page, colleagues of the department, but also researchers and professors, can find at any moment specific information and useful information about the management of research projects. So, for example, under the section Project Management Tools, can find links or explanations for useful tools in managing research projects. For example, the formats and the web for the filling of timesheets, which are necessary for the reporting of personnel costs. Moreover, they can also find under these sections information about the different types of fundings that we deal with. So, for instance, national findings. So, under this heading, they will then find useful reporting, administrative information about projects funded under Italian ministries or national associations, foundations, and also maybe private entities. They can also find information about international fundings. And of course, under this heading, they will find useful information also about European projects. Apart from this page that is, of course, constantly updated with all information about research projects, our office tries to organize periodic training sessions with the departments, and especially with that staff that I was mentioning before that directly deals with project management. So basically, we have training sessions both for national and international research projects, and we decide the topics on the basis of the questions and maybe necessities that we perceive that the departments can have. So basically, our activity that functions via email, so whenever the departments have the necessity to ask for information, can write to our office email address. And thanks to this constant communication with departments, we can try to understand which topics are maybe more useful to talk about directly with them during our training sessions, in order to give them guidelines and advice on how to manage specific aspects of research projects and reporting too. So moving on, our office has also to check and monitor the research projects. So this is a very important function that we have to realize in very effective way, because we have to help the departments whenever we can to conclude the project in the most efficient way possible. So in fact, as I was mentioning before, for what regards checks and monitors, our office has to control statements upon every reporting period. What does it mean? I will once again give you some concrete example on how our activity works. So with the previous example, we arrived at the moment of the starting date of the project and the beginning of research. So the monitor is in the hand of the departments, of course. But as I was saying, if they need any help or advice, they can write at any moment to our office. If not, at the moment of the reporting period, the department is in charge of preparing both the technical report, which is, of course, also in the hand of the principal investigator, the researchers that work on the project, and the project manager, if necessary and if present. But on the other hand, the financial statements and financial reportings are a task to be performed by the administrative staff of the departments. So what happens, for example, in Horizon projects is that when the reporting session is opened on the participant portal, it will be a responsibility of the department to insert the financial data in the portal and therefore close the financial statement. Once they have prepared the reporting and have collected all the expenses they had during the reporting period, they will close by their side the financial statement, and the notification will arrive to our office, because our office is also the financial signatory for the participant portal, and therefore this permits us to control formally the statements submitted by the departments. So every department knows that whenever is the time of signing a financial statement, has also to send us a detailed report of the expenses they have considered to be put in the financial statement. In the activity of control, as you can imagine, it is really important for us, this step, because thanks to the detailed reports that departments provide us, we can examine which type of costs they are including in the financial statement. And in case we notice that some, for example, ineligible costs are included, we can signal this to the departments and propose them some changes or trying to understand why they included that cost. So identifying at these steps ineligible costs that have been included in the financial statement can help colleagues in the department, but also the institution, to avoid cuts from the auditors at a later stage of the research projects that could lead to the reduction of funding. So, of course, this step, it is really important for what concerns financial control. Another instrument that we are launching in this period to help the departments monitor the projects, research projects, is a service that we call Alert. So what does it mean? It is a service that will be launched in, we hope, very brief time, thanks to which the department involved in the management of each research project at the University of Milan will receive some reminders automatically that it is the time to report projects. So this is useful, especially maybe for the departments that have a lot of research projects to manage, or for departments that have projects that maybe end more or less at the same time, or a lot of reporting periods at the same time. So this service will help them to prepare all the statements, both scientific and financial, with not only at the end of the reporting period, but to allow them to have the time to prepare them carefully. In fact, this service will start reminding about the deadlines 60 days before, and will continue reminding after a couple of weeks or a week, depending on the phase in which we are. And this, of course, will help both the departments to organize the reporting sessions, but also to allow us to make the checks I was telling you before, because it is better for us to receive statements with a reasonable time before, in order to carefully control the expenditures. So apart from these activities, the ones of information training, checks and monitoring, the last one that I will mention is the support during second level audit procedures and the contact with the funding agencies. So I was already mentioning it, but it can happen that some research projects are selected by the funding agencies for a financial or scientific control at the end of the project. Every funding agency has its rules, But in that cases, an external auditor is selected by the agency to perform these controls. And whenever it happens, of course, the preparation of the documents related to the expenses or to the scientific advance of the project must be collected and organized by the departments, which are the centers in which the costs are beared and the scientific research is carried on. But we can give the department support in communicating with the auditors selected, and also with the preparation of institutional documents that has to be signed by the legal representatives. And of course, also during the research projects, we give support to the departments whenever there is the need to contact the fighting agency in case of need or problems, and so on. So this was the scenario I showed you on how research projects are managed at our university, and I hope that you found this useful and interesting. So before our break, I just wanted to conclude this section to show you some numbers about research projects at our university. So I inserted in this last slide some tables showing you number of research projects that the University of Milan received in 2022. So the numbers that you see in here are related only to awarded projects in 2022. So in this first table, as you can see, we have projects divided by EU and international. So as you can see, we received funding for ESC projects, Horizon 2020, but also Horizon Europe started to arrive. And we also received some fundings, even if in a lower number, financed by other DGs of the European Commission. We also have projects financed by other international bodies and the group of national fundings, which, as you can see, are very high. So going a little bit further, these are the last two charts graphics I wanted to show you. So this first one are the same data that I showed you before, but so with a different layout. As you can see, the majority of fundings we received arrived from national entities. So this is the Italian Ministry of University, which is in 2022 was the most important funding agency for us. And also these other colors, the green one, the blue, and the brown, are national agencies that funded projects. Instead, here in blue, orange, and gray, we can find the European projects we received in 2022 that, if put together, constitute more or less a 17–20% of research projects. So as the last graphic, this one shows in which areas, in which university sectors we received the most fundings. So the light blue one refers to the area of life sciences, the orange one, the one of physical science and engineering, and the green one, the social and humanities one. So you can see the most fundings we receive are in the life sciences sector, in fact, we have a lot of departments that deal with life sciences, and therefore the researchers are brilliant and they receive a lot of fundings. But also the area that is improving very much is the one of physical engineering and of physical sciences and engineering, that, as you can see, is improving in the last year. So this was to give you an overview of how our institution deals with research project management. And I think that before the break, we can stop here with the content that I'm presenting to you, and we'll continue later with project management golden rules. But of course, before the break, if you have any question or comment, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you, Laura, for this first part of presentation. I have like a question or just like general comment. For me, it's very inspiring and interesting to see like how the structure is built up about just project management, but also it's important part of the life of the university. And from one side, I have this feeling that, oh my God, it's like kind of safety to have so many like offices, departments giving you support, checking you up, how is it going with your project and stuff. And also like this feeling that I have idea about my research and I would like to do some projects, so I can go to this department and you will help me how to put my idea into practice and how to find money for my research. On the other side, and I think here is coming my concern and question, how does it work in practice? Because seeing the number of the project also and the structure, how many offices and departments you have, in the practice, is it like smooth process to give the support, to remind to departments, to organize some trainings, to help to find the fundings, to help in writing the reports? Or is it causing also kind of, let's say, traffic, that because there's like on different levels, there are different offices and different departments? Is it more like making this process smoother, that I want to make a project and get the money for the project and manage this project, finish it and make final report and close it? Or it causes sometimes some traffics because it's so many things happening that, for example, I have to wait when somebody will be able to help me. How it's from your practical experience?
So thank you very much, Ursula, for your comments and your questions. So basically, you're right. So there is a lot of traffic. We have a lot of departments and researchers and professors that are willing, of course, to participate to research projects. However, this process that I showed you is already some years that is working. Therefore, the majority of researchers and departments too already know the functions that every office in the Central Research Division has. So basically, by now, it's better for us to help them, because almost in every case, the questions we received are the right questions, in the sense that our colleagues in the department know us and know who they have to contact. And from our experience, we have also noticed that the departments are happy to receive a support in their activity. So basically, that's true. Also, our division is very big. We have a lot of staff because we have to answer to a lot of departments, a lot of needs, and sometimes in specific periods, the work is very intensive, but we are, let's say, quite well organized. So we also collaborate very much between offices here. So sometimes with the pre-award sectors too, we try to help each other, sharing information regarding projects. So we're very collaborative, and we try to assist our departments as well as we can. And I think that the process works quite good, basically. So yeah, also the colleagues in the department make very good work and helps us advising them in the right way.
Thank you. I think it's very, at least for me, it would be very important to have this feeling that, okay, there are people around who are like my, like safety pillow, that they are controlling me as well, to make sure that my work is done very well. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do you have any other questions?
May I ask one, please?
Of course.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very interesting and very comprehensive. So I don't know whether it's correct to ask it from you. Well, how would be the kind of purchasing is done when you get these grants? How do you manage, let's say, like purchasing big equipment, for example, like when they come under grants? If a grant has identified a particular equipment which is a particular value, which can be considered as a big equipment or valuable equipment, how do you usually manage it? Do you have a separate office to handle the procurement, or the scientist will handle the procurements?
So, sorry, if I understand well, your question was about purchasing of equipment. I heard it well.
Yeah, purchasing, okay. For example, like something worth of 100,000 euro or something like that.
Okay, so, well, thank you for your question. And basically, so in Italy, being our university a public university, we have some rules to follow about purchasing of big, for example, equipment or big purchases in general. So basically, this regards both equipment, but also services which are over a certain amount of money. We have a specific division in the central administration that deals with the purchase of these equipments or services. So what happens is that if the purchase is under a certain amount of money, the purchase can be directly made by the department through the administrative staff, because of course the departments have also staff dedicated to purchasing. But if the purchase is higher than the amount decided by law, the departments know that they have to contact our central division for purchasing, and they will help them in all the procedures that we have to follow, being a public entity and the Italian regulation, let's say.
Okay, thank you very much. So there's one question attached to the same thing. So in Estonia, we follow these partners, like, the university has partners, so we can reach only them when we want to purchase. So in your management also, do you have similar situation, like a scientist can just, if it is open tender, can, like, anybody who manufacture the same equipment can bid for that? Or I'm just asking for the curiosity, whether you have any set specific partners that you have to go with, or is it a kind of an open, let's say that a bigger purchase, like larger kind of equipment?
Yeah? Okay, so in general, in some areas, we have specific partners with whom we have some agreements, to whom we have to go with them. to purchase. But in general, for example, in purchasing of equipment, of big equipment, in the majority of cases, we basically search for offers. That is what happens. So in general, if we don't have a partner to whom we have to purchase this item, the office, the central division of purchasing opens, we call it gara, but it is such as they ask for interest. And so every I don't know, producer or manufacturer that has that piece of equipment that the researcher or professor needs can answer to our request and offer a price or whatever. And then, following our regulations, national regulations, we have to choose the best one, taking into account all aspects.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't see in the chat. I don't hear as well. So thank you very much for the first part of our webinar. I think now, especially you deserve some break for coffee, water, or something. So what time we should be back, Laura?
I would say, so 15 minutes break. That sounds good. So 11:05.
Yeah, and 12:05
Yes,
in our time.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's meet back 5:12 or 11:05, depending where we are, and let's continue. So enjoy coffee, water, whatever you need for a break, some stretching, and see you soon. Thank you very much.
You. Can you see it?
Yes, yes, perfect.
So we can continue now with the last part of my presentation. So just to conclude a little bit our introduction to research project management, I wanted to give you some project management golden rules that could be useful to be considered in managing basically every kind of research project. Then, of course, I will sometimes try to give you some examples using always European projects. So after this brief list of golden rules that I will provide you, I hope that we will then start our discussion together. So just to go through them, so the first golden rule is to draw up a timetable at the start of the project. So whenever a research project is awarded, drawing a timetable is always useful. I am sure you can imagine why. So having an updated timetable can help you to remember all the important deadlines of your project. And of course, the dates to be considered can be very various. So of course, the date of start and end of the project, the date of the reporting periods. But if you also work as maybe a more specialized project manager, it could be useful also to insert in your timetable some important dates of the, for example, submission of deliverables, milestones, or BP activities that you have in the project. So this is very important in order to not forget important dates in the project. Then another advice is to always assuring the respect of project accounting principles. So basically, project accounting is always important, but as we can find in the European regulations, for project accounting, we mean that the costs must be actually incurred. That means that any cost you bear during your project associated to scientific activity has to be real and borne by the beneficiary or third party, affiliated entity that is reporting the cost. So real in the sense that there has to be a proof that you bear the cost, and it has not to be a rough cost or an estimation borne by the beneficiary, of course, in the sense that there has to be demonstration that your institution that is reporting was the one that paid for this purchase or for this cost. Then the cost must also be incurred during the action duration. So if the guidelines of a specific agency doesn't give you some other rule, usually all costs must be incurred from the date of the beginning of the project until the end date. Speaking once more as example about Horizon projects, the only exception to this rule is basically the cost of the certificate on financial statement that is required for that project that's reported at the end of the project as sum higher than in Horizon 2020 was 325,000 euros of direct costs. With Horizon Europe has changed to, I think, 430,000 comprehensive of indirect costs. So the cost of the certificate on the financial statement, if it is required by the action, can be reported even if, of course, the beneficiary incurs this cost after the end date of the project. Then costs must also be entered as eligible in the specific cost category. So, of course, a part of keeping always in mind the financial regulation that any funding agency has. So be aware that all costs that we report are eligible costs for the financial regulation of the agency. It is also important to insert this cost in the right cost category in order to avoid errors. The costs must be connected to the actions and be necessary for its implementation. For any cost you incur and you report must be directly connected to the action. And for what concerns Horizon projects, when we say connected to the action, we refer to the Annex 1 to the grant agreement, which is the description of the action. So also during audits or during reviews, controls, every beneficiary, every party has to demonstrate, sometimes they are asked for, to justify the necessity to incur some costs. So one example, when we report some travels, that travel has to be necessary for the project. So I don't know, it could be the participation of the researchers or principal investigator to project meetings, or it could also be the participation to conferences in which the results of the projects are presented. So everything has to be scientifically justified. The costs must also be identifiable and verifiable. So we have to have documents demonstrate that we incur them. They have to be in compliance with national laws concerning, for example, taxation rules or employees' contracts. So every nation has its own rules and must be, of course, respected. And to conclude, the costs must be reasonable and justifiable. Going on, some other suggestions. It is always important to collect and file all documentation by cost item and per reporting period. So trying to file all documents supportive of the expenses, or also necessary some scientific reports, is important, because that can help to, of course, consult more easily the documents you need, but also in light of audits. Fact, whenever a project or a beneficiary is selected to be audited, it is useful to find all the documents requested by the auditors and put them at their service. So if we have collected all documents during the project, the time that we will need to collect what is asked will be very few time. Otherwise, the work can be very tough. It is useful to, as a suggestion, collect and file documents not only by cost item, but also reporting period. For mainly, I think, 2 reasons. So first one could be that if you need to remember what you put in a specific financial statement, you can find the documents you need in the file for the first reporting period, for example. But the other reason could be also because, especially with projects in Horizon funded under the Research and Innovation, the DG Research and Innovation, sometimes the audits that, external audits that the European Commission selects are not only decided at the end of the project, but also maybe just to examine one single reporting period. So if it happens, of course, it is really easy to answer the auditor's question if we have all documents filed per period. First suggestion is to carefully plan all purchases and recruitment. So this suggestion aims to, of course, try to organize the expenses the best way possible in order not to arrive to near at the end of the project that some expenses are still to do. In fact, as a general rule in research projects, it is not so good unless it is scientifically justified to have expenses the very few days before the end of the project, because sometimes the auditors or controllers could note that, could have the doubt that if not scientifically justified, that costs were not necessary for the action, because we can give them the sensation that we tried to spend as much money as we could at the end of the project in order to report more. Going on, we have to also, it is important to pay attention to the methodology for calculating personnel costs, which may vary according to the type of project. So, for example, in Italy, it happens to us that we have different rules for calculating personnel costs between national and international projects. So, since personnel costs could be, in some cases, an important cost category, in mind, it is important to always remember which is the right methodology calculation to do in order to avoid budget cuts. Always speaking about personnel costs, it is always good to remember to fill in timesheets or time declarations. So for almost every project that must be reported with actual costs, apart from keeping always in mind the right personnel calculation to do, it is always important to prove that the effort we report for every personnel involved in the project is we can demonstrate their effort. And the instrument that usually is asked in order to reconcile the effort included in the statements with the costs incurred are the timesheets or time declarations. Depends, of course, on the project. Then, for what concerns publication, always remember to include the acknowledgement. So, for example, this could be a typical acknowledgement that we can find, very general one, in publications under the Horizon program. So it is very important because therefore we can reconcile that publication can be paid under the project, and it is always important to thank the funding agency that permitted this publication to be made. One last rule or suggestion that I give you is to report more than the planned budget if possible. So basically, always using as example a European project, as you know, in the grant agreement, every beneficiary has a maximum grant amount, a budget that can spend for their activities. So if happens during the project, and of course at the end of the project, that a beneficiary has spent more than the planned budget, of course, all the expenses, as said before, have to be necessary. The advice is to always report all costs that have been incurred on the project, because this could be useful in light of an audit. For example, if we have reported more than the maximum grant amount, and 1 year after the end of the project, the European Commission decides to audit the project with external auditors, and they find that some expenses that were included in your statements were ineligible, the higher amount that you reported could serve to substitute, let's say, the ineligible expenses you included in the reports. And therefore, even if some costs have been claimed ineligible, if the amount is sufficient to cover this amount, you won't be asked to reduce your funding and therefore give money back to the European Commission or to the funding agency. On the other hand, it could also happen that by reporting more than the planned budget, if some partners of the consortium at the end of the project are underspent, it could all, and the European Commission accepts all costs included in the financial statements of the beneficiaries, it could happen that the partners that reported more than the planned budget receive a higher funding, maybe comprising all the costs that were included in the statement, if there is, of course, enough money to divide between beneficiaries. So basically, these are some typical maybe rules and suggestions that could help in the management of every research project in order to try and to arrive at the end of the project with a success, both in the scientific part, but also on the financial one that could be sometimes tricky, and it is really unpleasant when it happens that maybe some costs are claimed ineligible or so on, just because maybe we forgot about an important deadline or we had some problems during the project. So of course, try to have a timetable, keeping in mind some basic rules could help to avoid unpleasant surprises at the end of the project. So basically, this was the last suggestions that I wanted to give to you. And I would be very pleased if we start a little bit of discussion. Maybe if you want to, if you have questions, of course, I will answer. But also, if you want to share your experience in project management, or you have you found something particularly interesting, I will be very pleased to hear to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura, for sharing another insights about the project management. If there are any questions, feel free to raise your hand or to write in the chat. I will start with my one about timesheets that you were sharing with us. From your experience, is it enough just to fill this timesheets declaration and write like in general with, for example, which work package you work, or some more detailed description is necessary?
So usually we have posted some also external audits sent by the European Commission, and when was the time to examine personal costs, basically the timesheets or time declarations were enough. So basically the maximum that happened to us in some European programs, the auditors asked, but it was written in the guidelines or in the grant agreement, is to identify the hours put in the timesheets per VP or task. But apart from this detail, it has never happened to us that they wanted such a detailed explanation of the activities performed every day or so on. So basically, as an internal practice here at the University of Milan, apart from the timesheets per person involved in the project, we also usually prepare some engagement letters in which we declare that the researcher and the professor work on this specific project. So it serves as a one element more to prove that our professors or researchers have also to dedicate their time during the project. But usually for our experience, timesheets, if possible divided per VP, have been enough, let's say.
Thank you very much. I think Signe has a question.
I have one question about managing your own time, because it's very easy to overwork and do too much because everything needs to be done so urgently and so on. Do you have any type of like time management for yourself platforms that you use or would recommend?
So thank you for the question. So basically, by now we don't have a platform for ourselves, in the sense that, as I was telling you before, in our institution, the task of preparing financial statements and technical reports are in the hand of the departments. So we are trying, as you were asking, to help departments to remember or to organize themselves better at the moment of preparing reports, because the problem that you are highlighting, of course, is a typical problem for our colleagues too. So we know it. Sometimes it is very difficult to prepare all documents in time for all the projects you have to manage. So, for example, here at our university, with that alert service that I was mentioning before, we are trying to give an additional help to our colleagues. So what we expect and what we hope is that with this system, our colleagues will receive a notification even before the end date of the project that maybe could help them to begin preparing documents also before the end of the project, so that at the end they will maybe need to add some last details to the statements or to the technical reports in order not to be in a rush at the end. So yeah, at our institution, this is what we are trying to do. Do you have any systems, or you have to construct timetables by yourself?
We do it ourselves right now. I think we have been trying to use some like online platforms where we can manage the tasks and share these and put deadlines to it, but it usually isn't that effective.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it is always challenging to try and respect all deadlines. Yeah, I know.
But based on that, I have another question, because I think it's quite common that people from the university they work on different projects at the same time, and then also like coming back to this timesheet. So it's in general like writing that in this month I was writing this and this amount of days with this and this project and work packages. So not like writing in details that Monday from 8 to 12 I was in project number 1, and from 12 to 4 I was with project number 2. This from your experience is not necessary.
You say to identify at which time of the day you work, you were saying?
Yeah, like for example, part of my time I'm hired for one project, and part of my time I'm hired for another project. And then when thinking about some audit or control, like how to prove that actually I spent this amount of time with this project really, and this amount of time with another project. Like, is it this timesheet declaration, is it enough from your practice that I'm just writing amount of days or hours, or we like should have like more details description, like I don't know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday I work on this this project, and Tuesday, Thursday on another.
Okay, so basically at the University of Milan we have an online timesheet that the researchers and professors can fill in when they need to report their time, which shows their activity day by day, not divided per hour. So they don't have to insert from 8 to 10, I did this. But basically in this timesheet, day by day, they have to put in hours saying 2 hours on Monday I worked for the project, 3 other hours I had teaching activities, and so on. So there's not a detail in timing, but yes, if the researchers are involved in more than one activity, through our timesheets, they have to divide their time between all the activities they perform. The only exception to these cases, of course, are people specifically enrolled on research projects. So, for example, we have postdoctoral fellowships or something like that. So usually when justifying their effort, also in front of auditors and so on, we provide their contract in which it is clearly specified that their contract is directly paid through the project, and they will work 100% or another percentage on the project, and their timesheet will be filled at the same way. So if they enroll 100%, all their effort in the timesheets will be devoted only to that project. If he's enrolled 50% on one project and 50% on the other, his hours in the timesheet will be 50-50 divided between the two projects. So it is more difficult for our professors and researchers, which of course can work on several projects and also have institutional activities and teaching activities. So filling in the timesheet is time-consuming because, of course, they have to distinguish their effort between all the activities that they have to do. But usually our timesheet with the letter of engagement for our professors and researchers that I was mentioning before has been sufficient to prove their effort on the projects.
So you have solution on university level, like let's say more inside of the institution. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? So I would like to ask one more thing. Could you share, if you remember or you have in your mind, like the most challenging or difficult project that you had to deal, taking into consideration like the management process and reporting process and everything, like something that was really for sure big lesson for you or your department, but was also interesting experience, something that you really had to challenge with some difficulties.
Okay, so well, maybe thinking about a case that comes to me in mind, I think that by now, well, a couple of cases I have in mind. On the one hand, it was a European project funded under Horizon 2020, in which University of Milan was coordinator of a consortium of, I remember, 42 partners. So a really big project that was very challenging for the department. And I remember that I didn't experience so many difficulties on the reporting of our own budget, but the main difficulty that above all the department experienced was at the moment of the reportings to collect all the financial statements and the submissions or the preparation of the technical report too, because of course there were a lot of partners, and so there was a lot of information that I had to put together, and it was really challenging. So I think that the most effort that we experienced was to so always keep in contact with the partners, reminding them about the deadlines to submit. And also it was for us financially difficult, the time of distributing the funding. So of course, as you know, when we are coordinators, we have to transfer the funding also to the partners. So making such 40 transfers every reporting period, at the time of pre-financing, making all the calculations. So we had to keep in mind a lot of elements and controlling all the statements. So yeah, this was an interesting case. Another case that instead was more challenging for us in the terms of our budget was an ERC project in which we had a lot of equipment both on the project. So as I think you know, when we report equipment in Horizon or ERC projects, we have to calculate the depreciation cost. So only the depreciation cost can be reported. And therefore, when there were the reports, we did a lot of calls with the department in order to try to control all the calculation of the depreciation, because I don't know if you experienced the same issue, but when calculating the cost of equipment, you have to take into account the percentage of use, the days in the reporting period. So it was really a lot of equipment, and then calculating all the budget provision we had, if we could have enough overheads to cover also maybe the part of depreciation that was not included in the report. So it was quite challenging too.
Thank you very much. For me, 42 partners, it's
Yeah.
it's even hard to imagine like how to combine everything and how to contact with everybody and collect all the documents. It's like unbelievable. Like I think I have never heard about so big project involving so many partners. And when you said that it was so many, I was like, oh my God, like even visually, like how to make this timetable, a Gantt chart or whatever, like how to, it's unbelievable. So yeah, big respect for that, and I'm sure that it was very big learning experience for the next for the next project. So super interesting. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Of course, everyone can learn.
And that's why we're happy that we have, for example, you today, who shared a lot of really inspiring and interesting information, which can be really taken into consideration when creating like the future structure of the university. So personally, I'm super happy about what you shared and how you shared and what you presented, because it's very inspiring. And even if inside of the project, I think we will have a lot of food for thought to digest, like how to make it better and what we could implement even in small parts into our environment. So
of course, well, I'm really happy about this positive feedback. So I really hope that it was useful for you, and it will be useful for you, because it of course every system is not perfect, but I think that starting maybe constructing a support division or section is always good. I mean, discussing with someone else and trying to find solutions, it could be very helpful and useful in order to solve problems and related to project management too. So it's really difficult to manage a research project, because maybe if you are involved in more than one, you have different regulations than we were seeing before. And therefore, I think that having a structure to discuss with when you have doubts and you receive reassurance, so it is really useful in order to carry on the project as best as we can and conclude it hopefully successfully, of course. So I really hope that it will be useful in the future also for you as an example of how can things work. And I'm really happy about your feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. We are also happy about having this really inspiring webinar and getting the picture how things may look like and how things may work like. So this is like inspiration for us. So Laura, thank you very much really for this insightful and really like fruitful and full of, let's say, meat to I'm talking about food all the time. It's lunchtime soon, that's why maybe for this like very concrete information and the picture how you work, what do you do, because it's, as we were saying, this is very inspirational and can show us the direction to which we should go through. And having one more year of the project, 2 more years, sorry, of the project, for sure we will still learn a lot from you and your colleagues and University of Milan. So thank you very much for visiting us and sharing your knowledge and experience. And let's hope for the next steps of our cooperation in the OIT Boost project.
Of course, thank you for allowing me to give you this presentation. And of course, I hope that we will have the chance to meet again. So if there is the possibility or the chance, we wait for you, of course, at the University of Milan. And yeah, let's hope we will keep in contact also thanks to the project. So thank you very much.
Definitely. Thank you very much. So see you on the next events or meetings or whatever we will have in our project. Have a nice afternoon. Take a rest after this presentation as well. And yeah, let's see you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have
Bye.
a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.